Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and another card tutorial today. Now you might already have seen this card on Facebook. I shared this when the Tons of Fun knick-knack came out by Nitwit Collection, and it's a corner tuck fold card. So this little piece here is in the corner and it's sort of tucked under, giving quite an unusual little feature. And the cards I've seen have all been fantastic, and they use cards which are 6x6. The only problem I found with that then is, because of all this bulk, because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 layers, it gets very tight. So my version is just slightly smaller, which means we can add some extra 3D foam and things, and it'll still fit into your 6x6 envelope. So to make this card, you're just going to need 1 sheet of cardstock. So I'm using some 220 GSM Bright White by Creative Expression. And this is my prototype template that I did. You can see it folds in like so. So to start off with, I'm going to cut a piece 9 7/8 by 5 7/8. So you see it's 5 7/8, which means it'll now fit nicely into my 6x6 envelope. So I've got my scoreboard and I've got my trimmer ready to go. So the trimmer is the first job. So let's do 5 7/8. So that's 6 inches, just going back 1/8. That's what's going to make it fit nicely into my envelope. And then 9 7/8. So that's just 10 inches. And then back 1/8. So 9 7/8. And that's all the cutting I'm going to need to do. Now, in some of the other versions, they've been using pencils and rulers and things to do the measurements. Now, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do my scoreboard, do all the work for me. I was going to bring back my template. Now, in the bottom left-hand corner, we're going to draw or score a 4x4 square. But on the board, that'll be quite tricky. So what I'm going to do is do it in the top left. So here's my 4-inch mark. And down the side of my scoreboard, I can see 4 inches is about here. So I'm going to come down and stop before I get to 4 inches. And then I'm going to flip it so this bottom left becomes my top right. And then go from the 4 inches down. Now I'm going to stop when I get to this score line. Then I'm going to put it back as it was. And I'm going to bring this score line down to meet the one I had. And then when I flip my card over, it is now in the bottom left, and I can just score it back if I wanted to, like so. Now I need to do a line from this bottom left up to my 5 7/8 mark. So here's my 6-inch, but my card's going to be 5 7/8. So I'm just going to come back 1 notch. 5 7/8. I'm just going to mark it there. That's going to be just my guide. Now I'm going to bring my scoreboard off to my left so I can use my last track here. This is the one I like to use when I'm doing an awkward measurement like a diagonal, because I know I can line up the edge one. So I'm lining up that 5 7/8 mark in my scoreboard. Then I'm going to move this so that this bottom corner is also in that first track. So let's move it back. I've gone into the second knit. There we go. And when I do this, I should go through the corner of that square and all the way down. So there we are with no measurements, no rulers or anything. Let's go through it one more time. So we started off at the 4-inch, just sort of had a guide here where the 4-inch was. Score down and stop before I get there. Take the bottom left and place it top right and score down till you met that score line there. Then placed it back in and brought it back until they both met. Marked 5 7/8 here. Oh, sorry. Make sure it's in the bottom left. Mark 5 7/8 and I joined them together. And I'm just going to bring in my Teflon tool and we're going to fold this on the diagonal. And I'm going to try and get it nice and even at the bottom. So if your diagonal is a bit off, you can sort of train it into place here now. Get a nice sharp crease and open it up. Now what's going to happen now is, at the moment we've got this valley fold, that V shape. By the end, this first bit is going to be a mountain, and this is good. A valley. This is going to be a mountain by the end. So I'm going to take this horizontal one and I'm just going to fold it up to where that score line finished and meets the diagonal. And the same here. So folding it up. So now I've got a valley, and a valley. And I'm going to tease this into a mountain. And now, when I bring it in, it'll all fold down. And I'm going to just burnish it really well. Let's get into all those bits and just crease it all. And that is your corner tuck card all complete. And it's just a case then of decorating. Now I'm using this time here I used the diggers and dozers. This time I'm going to be using Piece of Cake Feminine, which is also a Nitwit kit. And I've already created my pieces ready. And I've even got some decoupage elements for later on. Now in mine, I'm going to do the quick cheat way. I'm just going to be cutting off a corner here from my base layer. But I will also explain how you could do it if you wanted that red line to continue on a diagonal and then the white inside. That is possible too, and I'll show you because that's what I do on the front here. Okay. Let me just bring in my ruler. So my base card is now 5 7/8 by 5 7/8. So I've done my base card 5 5/8. So it's a 5 5/8 square. And that will tuck in nicely in there. But of course, you've got this bit here, which is going to be quite awkward. So all I did there then was mark where that diagonal piece is. So I'm still just using my scoreboard. So I'm still not using a pencil. And I'm just going to cut that corner off. Freehand. You could draw a pencil line if you want it to be more accurate. I'm going to check that it doesn't catch. If it does catch, just trim another slither off. Now I've layered mine digitally. That's not to mean if you haven't got the skills to do that you can't use a digital kit. That's all you would do is print off your blue one. So a sheet of blue. And you would cut that at the 5 5/8 by 5 5/8. And then do a white one, slightly smaller. And then you would just cut the diagonal again. And with the white one, you would just mark 2 marks inside and you get a nice blue line there as well then. And then you can just physically fussy cut and stick some elements on. But I like the quickness of my DigiKits. And the joy was, because I'd already done this for my diggers and dozers and all the measurements were already done, I didn't have to create from scratch. I just used that page as a template and just went into edit, change picture, and I managed to make this version fairly quick. There we go. So that's the front. But now I'm going to show you this one, because this is what you would do if you had two separate papers here. So I've got my blue one here, and the height again is 5 7/8. The width this time is 1 7/8. So I've made this slightly smaller. So this is 1 3/4 by 5 5/8. Now this now is too big for my piece, and it's the wrong shape. So what I'm going to do, I haven't got a pencil, so I'll just use my pen. I'm going to mark, I can see where the cardstock is underneath, so I'm just going to mark a little bit below. And then just cut here. So just join them up. And that will now fit inside that piece with just a little bit of a white border. Then I've taken my patterned paper and I've cut it just a bit shorter than that. So these were 1.5 by 5.5. It's not going to remain 5.5. Oh, let me check. There's no butterflies. Yes, there is a butterfly, so I need to put it that way. So I've placed it, so I've got a blue border around those three sides. So I'm not too worried about the top, because what I'm going to do now, this is where the blue paper is. And so I'm just going to come down a little bit, just by eye, and cut. Let me check if I'm happy with the matte and layer before I add the glue. Yeah, I'm quite happy. If I was really fussy, I probably would just take an extra little slither off. And there we go. And then it's just a case of gluing these on. Of course, you could use your double-sided tape as well. Try and get a bit straighter. There we go. And now this will fit onto that edge. And burnish it all down. So open it up now. You are going to see this bit and possibly this bit. Now the piece of cake kit was a good choice because it actually came with some triangle ephemera pieces already built in the kit. But in the diggers and dozers, what I did was I cut a 3 5/8 square from the red, and I cut it in half then, and then just separated them that way to get the two triangles. And then on top you would do 5 3/8. So 2 separate pieces of designer paper, cut into squares and then diagonal. So if you're going to do that method, just be aware you do want some non-directional paper, because if you had text going across this way, when you fold it that way, it'll end up going up. So just be aware of that. But because I had triangles here, I've managed to get the butterfly one to fit in. So that one's going to go there. And then this floral one is going to go there. So just add in some glue. So you can see now my butterfly does look like it's going the wrong way. But when I fold my card, it is actually the proper way. And then the other triangle. So then when we tuck it through, you'll see a bit there, but when it's a bit more open, you'll see a bit more. But I do like doing that bit as well, because when it's open and you're writing sentiment, you are going to see there. And you could even replicate that inside there as well, if you wanted. And that would actually tie off the blue end there, actually. So probably would have been a good idea. I wish I thought about it sooner. So to do this back panel, just be aware you're cutting off that top left corner. So you don't want anything with detail up here. My first one, my sentiment was too high and actually did cut off a bit of the sentiment. So I had to redo this one. I used a backing sheet, just one of the backing papers for the white piece, because it already had those on. But I superimposed this butterfly on, even though it's flat at the moment. It will be now, because I fussy cut it, a bit 3D. Now I like doing that with the butterflies, printed one on flat, because the antennae will be there, and then I don't have to cut them out of my fussy cutting. So I'm going to put some glue either side and press it down. Now you may have seen I went quite far over the body that time, which means it's going to be stuck quite a bit and only the edges are going to be up. I've also cut a second one, and on this one I'm just going to put it down the butterfly's body. So that means this one now will actually be able to lift a lot more. There we go. So we've got 3 layers, and because it was a digital image, so all I did was copy and paste it on my sheet of paper, and I managed to get both of them exactly the same size. The digital sentiment is also put on before printing. Of course, you could just stamp an image or something there as well. So when I closed it, we've just got a bit of dimension there visible, and then room for writing there or up here. And then it just stands on the mantelpiece, and it's really cool because you're trying to look at how that tucked corner. So there we go, our tucked corner card. So we've got a nice young boy, a nice feminine one. So same card style, suitable for both occasions, because here it just looks really fun and construction-y, and here very feminine and floral. So thank you for watching, and as always, I'd love to see your versions of these. And the way you can show me is by joining in my Facebook group, which is called Paper Crafting with Paul, and I'll have a link in the description below. So I'd love for you to join that group. There's been a lot of really fabulous projects lately of people sharing their projects made with my tutorials, so you'll get extra ideas there. And also, if you can, write a nice comment and give me a thumbs up as well, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. It really does mean a lot. So thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. It's a nice fun card, and I look forward to seeing your versions.